Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers. I'm talking about an interesting book here called EC Merger Control. Now I take it that means European Community Merger Control, but what about European Union? We'll get on to that. This is the 5th edition by Cook and Curse, which is an interesting name for the two authors. But it's a Sweden Maxwell publication. It's one I've seen a few times now, and this is the actual book itself. It's a heavyish book, standard sort of fare for the Sweden Maxwell stable. You've got all the stuff at the front, the table of contents and so forth. You've got the nice numbering at the sides and a lot of footnotes. And halfway through, you then start getting into the appendices, and there are a lot of them. Then at the back, of course, you've got the usual thing of very useful indexes and links about what the European Union business is actually all about. The book itself at the back actually has some quite useful quotes about what the concepts are that are involved, because it was first published in 1991 and has been around a long time. I remember it after my bar exams as a book that I started looking at as things changed, because as the title indicates, it goes back to the time prior really to the European Union. Now I've given it the title on the internet of the following. I've called it The Law and Practice of EC Mergers, an Indispensable Guide. And I'm using the same title of EC again for purposes, but we'll get onto that in just a second, because here you have everything that you actually need to know about EC mergers. It's a 5th edition, the first obviously that's come out since 2005, and it's the definitive English language guide to EC merger control, and certainly the essential handbook for lawyers in industry and in private practice who advise on the impact of merger control, an area which many people think is incredibly complex and something they'd probably rather run away from. You've got 700 pages almost in this book, quite a heavy one, but as I say, rather nice little cover, blue with the old orange bits. What we've got here though is we've got a thorough and detailed analysis of current EC merger control regime as it currently stands. And obviously the two authors here have examined the ways in which the legislative and procedural changes made in 2004 have impacted on the casework and procedures of the European Commission. And of general as well as professional interest is the analysis in the book of the evolution and maturing of the regime since 1989. As I say, we've got to run it through now for some considerable period of time. Both Cook and Curse have pointed out in the foreword that the EC merger control regime, as they say, has undoubtedly come of age since the last edition, 2004, around that time. And it's evidenced by the record-breaking 402 notifications of proposed concentrations and or mergers in 2007, compared with the all-time low to date of 58 in 1993. What the future holds, I've no idea, because as you know, we've got a major economic crisis on our hands, both within the UK, within the EU and globally. Now, however, having said all of that, these and all the related developments which I've indicated are obviously, some of them, are a number of other factors which actually are part of the continuing growth of the EU itself. And obviously we have to think about that in the longer term at the moment. Obviously there's a lot of detail here in this particular edition, and I'm not going into a huge amount obviously in this review. The point is that what the authors have done here is they've tried to endeavour to state the law as it was on the 1st of November 2008, and to take into account all the decisions and judgments up to that time which they knew about. There are some new developments particularly which are listed certainly in my review on Flickr, which is this one, and this is the sort of notes which are on the Sweden Maxwell website. They've actually looked at a number of things to include recent and much expanded Commission guidance on things like jurisdictional issues and remedies. And also, let me just deal with a bit of detail here. The non-horizontal merger guidelines and their recent application for Phase 2 decisions, such as the Thomson Reuters and Nokia cases. And secondly, judicial consideration of the coordination effects concept, and obviously the decisions in Schneider and My Travel, and the conditions under which damages may be covered when a merger decision is annulled, and also an exploration of almost 5 years of commission casework under the old 2004 merger system, and an examination of the use of the CIEC test in evaluating mergers. Now I mention that because obviously we're getting very technical very quickly about what the EC book is actually all about, the merger control book, because one of the concerns I have with any of this stuff is we start talking Euro babble very quickly, and I want to try and avoid that. So what I will say in summary with this particular book, which is actually a very relatively narrow area, but it will appeal to people who are reading EU law, which is going to be effectively compulsory anyway at undergraduate level in most sensible universities. So it's very useful for the learner, the researcher, the academic, as well as people like me as a practitioner. I think it's superb and a very authoritative work of reference in this area. When I say superb, I mean straightforward to use, because it's got a detailed and informative table of contents, 12 appendices which make up, well, probably a good third of the book. Then you've also got things like the cases, the European legislation, national legislation, and the rather revealing alphabetical table of merger decisions, which I indicated earlier. So, for instance, if you want to look up the decisions, let me just mention a couple, of Adidas, Reebok, or Sara Lee and BP Food Division, you can instantly with this book. And so therefore you've got actually everything at your hand. So as I said, it's an indispensable guide, and thank you Cook and Curse very much. Interesting title for the two authors, and probably you'll remember the book as a result. Thank you so much. Bye bye.